what are the requirements for living a great life? Health and wellness in the mind and body, authenticity in the way we present ourselves in the world, integrity, relationships, love, connecting, connection to the planet, to nature, natural rhythms, enjoyment of being a human being. Addiction gets in the way of those things. All right, we have in the circle here with us brother Connor. Connor, what is on your mind and heart today?
Hello, Tommy. Pleasure to be here in this circle. I'm going to give a little background about myself, just a real quick version of how I got here. My journey to recovery began with really some intermittent counseling, taking some breaks. Substances have been a challenge for me. Marijuana, alcohol, cocaine for, since maybe 16 all the way through until I entered a treatment facility at age 28. That was where I began my journey in earnest. I sure things that kept me from seeking help earlier were, I think, not wanting to take the label of an alcoholic, of an addict. And so that language kept me suffering longer than I think I needed to. And so, but eventually when I did seek help, I was tired of doing what I was doing. Despite having a promising career as a professional engineer, being, wide circle of friends, many involved in volunteer aspects, things look pretty good on the outside, and yet I was turning to substance use nearly every day. So eventually some of those things on the outside started to crumble, and I was forced to have a look at the inside. And this treatment facility, it was 12-step based. And at first I was a little turned off by that without really understanding all that entailed. But I was sure tired of doing what I was doing, and I was ready to try something else. I figured these people are the professionals. I'll give this a go. And, I started feeling better physically, mentally. I was there for 50 days. By the end of it, I was feeling really pretty good. I was playing some sports again. I was having fun. It was like, okay, I sure want to be sober. They've given me sort of some tools, a framework to continue doing this. I did what was suggested. I did join a 12-step fellowship. I, found a sponsor, went through the steps, eventually sponsored some other young men through the steps, and I'm involved with those people to this day. And that was really some of the most rewarding work of my life, and it led me to make a career change from engineering to recovery coaching. And now a few years later, I'm studying to become a psychologist. And so it is really feels good to be doing that sort of work, to be in this world healing people. And so here I am 3.5 years into my journey of abstinence. And, I do the 12 steps were helpful for me early on. They gave me a sense of community. There were people there. There was a lot of hope there. And it gave me this framework. And at the same time, and I think you spoke to this a little bit just recently, was to not make the 12 steps your life. And when I would go to these 12-step meetings, it was people it was their life. And I was looking at it like, gosh, I'm here to kind of get my life back. And it's taught me some helpful things, but there's also, I'd found community in other places. I was playing sports again. I was playing badminton, something I did as a kid at a real high level. I was playing golf again. I was like, finding my community in different sports or different ways. And so I moved away from the 12 steps. And at some point, after about a year into this journey, I read Recovery 2.0. I got turned on to yoga in a big way. I joined a yoga studio, met more community there. And I guess I was growing further and further away from the 12 steps and just getting turned on to other areas of wellness, as reading books, athletic. I was studying, I was connected, I was doing the things suggested in Recovery 2.0, breath work, started taking some ice baths and just feeling good in other ways, looking at nutrition, changing my, cutting out caffeine. And really, I guess, I'm a person who I suffered from severe substance use disorder, addiction, absolutely no problem calling it that. well, I guess part two, I still don't like those labels. Part of was why I didn't like going to those meetings anymore. I didn't like saying this. I'm Connor. I'm an alcoholic. It didn't feel true to me at some point. I haven't had a drink or use any drugs in a long, long time. So to me, I guess I've grown further apart. My question to you is, can a person who has suffered from severe addiction live a fulfilling life without continuing to embrace the 12 steps as that's as they're worded? That's I guess I meditate daily, I'm helping others. And then there's another part that you may or may not be able to answer here, because my work as a recovery coach, there's many people who are in the middle. They're not severe substance use disorder, it's not addiction, they're mild or moderate substance use disorder, alcohol use disorder. And with those folks, they're sure, as you've said, the 12 steps have a marketing problem, and it sounds a lot different than you made it sound on that last podcast. Hopefully that folks can go reference that. That was beautiful how you explained the 12 efforts. But can those folks find live a fulfilling life in recovery without embracing the 12 steps, and just by getting turned on to other facets of wellness, yoga, yes, well-being, nutrition, all that good stuff, therapy?
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful inquiry. Thank you for this background. And wow, what an important inquiry this is. I'm just gonna jump right in, and we'll see where we get to down the road here in a minute. Okay. What are the requirements for living a great life? Health and wellness in the mind and body. Authenticity in the way we present ourselves in the world. Integrity. Relationships, love, connecting. Connection to the planet, to nature. Natural rhythms. Enjoyment of being a human being. Addiction gets in the way of those things. Initially, with regards to the 12 steps, we address that. As I've written and spoken about so much, I don't feel that the 12 steps are uniquely addressing addiction, although on the surface, of course, that's what it's about. The book speaks about that. The original book speaks about alcoholism specifically, and then all the other texts that have come, Narcotics Anonymous, Al-Anon, Cocaine Anonymous, Sex Addicts Anonymous, Adult Children of Alcoholics. All of these texts that have come for those fellowships are speaking about a particular version of addiction. So on the surface, yes, the 12 steps are helping with addiction, but it's so much more than that. Or it could be. See, if you put down drugs and alcohol, you're somebody that is, forget about the word addiction for a minute. I have chronically used drugs and alcohol every day for the past 10 years, and I seem not to be able to stop. Okay. All right. And then through whatever the process is, 12 steps or otherwise, you're able to stop using drugs and alcohol. That's the sum total of the effect. That's the outcome. All you've achieved is abstinence. How are your relationships? How do you feel in your body? Do you have ease, comfort, contentment in your mind and spirit? How are you connected to nature? Do you feel a sense of joy and awe and wonder in just being alive? What I just asked to many people is going to say, well, no, but nobody does. We're not supposed to. Because we've normalized stress, anxiety, depression, pain, and suffering, and disconnection. We don't even realize it's normal to feel awe and wonder and joy about just being alive. We've just become so disconnected from that. These are the questions. You needed to stop using drugs and alcohol or another addictive behavior in order to even get to those questions. That's important. And the 12 steps can help you do that. And the 12 steps are hinting at a deeper possibility. A possibility of connection with something that's greater than you. A possibility of living in the world in a way that's purpose-filled, fulfilling, joyful, generally speaking, harmonious. Putting down drugs and alcohol don't create harmony in someone's life. Even though using drugs and alcohol create disharmony. This is what people don't understand. So that's the preface as we sort of dive deeper into this question, that the 12 steps are there, and they say, they promise two things, really. Spiritual experience for the individual who goes through them, and connection to greater power. Those are the two real stated outcome of working those steps when they work for someone. Does someone have to do those things to live a successful life beyond addiction? I think you have to be connecting with the truth in order to live a successful life. And I think that human beings have many paths to find that truth. And I think that if you're not living a truth, or you're living in a lie, or you're living in a deceitful way, or you're living in an illusion or a confused reality, I do not believe that you can live a successful life or a joyful life. I think that most people confuse happiness and contentment with how they feel when they relieve a craving. I just relieved a craving. I'm happy now. And that is not happiness. That is just relief. I've been in pain for so damn long. In the absence of that pain, it feels like happiness. No. Most people don't even know what happiness is, contentment. So, as we go down the road of trying to understand, can a person live a successful life without having to continue to work the 12 steps when they worked the 12 steps to a certain point? Of course. The 12 steps bring you to a place. But here's the way I'm looking at it in terms of your question and the way you phrased it. You said can you move on or live successfully without the 12 steps? There comes a point after working the 12 steps once or several times or many times or living for years with them when it becomes a part of you. It's never not there. I'm not going to meetings every day. I'm not even reading recovery words from the book every day. But it's in my mind all the time. It's present with me. I went to an Ayurvedic clinic in southern India. This is Ayurveda is a form of bringing the body into balance and detoxifying and purification from the Indian system of health and healing. And so I went to a clinic to have an experience for myself. I stayed there for 14 days and then I came home and they gave me 90 days of medicine. And they said, he said, you have to do this every day for 90 days. And I said, tell me why. Why 90 days? Why steadiness with it? What is it doing? And he said, well, I could tell you a lot about the individual herbs that I'm giving you and the different plant medicines that I'm giving you. But the real reason is because we're going to train the body over 90 days to do what the medicine does when the medicine is no longer there. And I found that to be a very compelling concept. I have trained myself, and others in the 12-step rooms have helped me to extract the medicine of those steps into the cells of my body, and it's just simply there now. Does that mean I'm impervious to life's challenges? Does that mean I can never relapse? It has nothing to do with that. All it means is the wisdom and the power of those steps is in me. And because the wisdom of those steps is in me, now I know that I have to continue my work of spiritual growth every single day. And if I do that and continue to deepen my experience of truth, deepen my experience of love and presence, I know that everything that I'm supposed to experience in this life, I will. So it's not, I wouldn't even know how to live life without the 12 steps. It's just in me. Now, what else do I need to do? I need to keep this body in shape. That means to me, as a yogi, I cannot let energy get stuck in the body anywhere. That means I have to engage in practices that moves that energy around the body. That I'm actually working every day at the movement of prana, or life force, through the energy channels of this body. What else do I have to do? I have to engage in a meditative practice, because without that, my mind tends to get very active. It can skew negative. It can become problematic for me. And rather than my mind serving my heart, my mind starts to dominate my reality. And that becomes very stressful for me. The meditative practice gives me a way to calm that and to set myself in that calm place so I can go out into the world from a centered and calm, presence. What else do I need to do? I need to have a relationship with the planet Earth. I have to. It's where all the power comes from. All the food, all the water. I have to have a relationship with the sun. The thing that powers everything. What else do I have to do? I have to engage in relationships with other people. My wife, that primary relationship in my life, my friendships, my colleagues, the people that I work with and love. I have to engage in an appropriate relationship with food. And then I just get to show up and serve from a very free, calm, and centered place. Am I always free and calm and centered? Of course not. It's a work in progress. I notice that the days where I do the practices that I'm suggesting go better than the days where I don't. Why would somebody like me, who's so clear that these practices help and make the difference, ever miss a day? Ask yourself. Because we're all the ones that want to grow to the next level, and we're all the ones in the way of our growth. Every one of us. So it's a work in progress each day. In terms of recovery, in the context of 12-step rooms and Alcoholics Anonymous and all the anonymous programs, recovery is about not using drugs, alcohol, or acting out in addictive behaviors that we used to have. Recovery is centered around the not doing of something. It's very important that we live our way into a life where we're in the doing of something and not so preoccupied into the not doing of something. And the only way you cannot be preoccupied with the not doing of something is to not do it long enough that it drops away from possibility, and to grow yourself into a new human being where now you're not staying sober out of fear of going back to the thing you're not supposed to be doing, but you're staying sober out of love for the life that you've built, for the possibility of the life that you have each day. And especially because everything becomes more joyful when you're living for something, not against something. Don't get me wrong. At the beginning, for many years, I had to be in the raising of my hand and saying, my name's Tommy, I'm an addict, or I'm an addict alcoholic. At the beginning, that was resonant for me. I felt that was important in that stage of my recovery. I also felt it was important to get to meetings every day. I also felt it was important that I speak to my sponsor and work the steps every day, because when I didn't do that, I was so vulnerable to going back. There really was something that I couldn't be doing, or it was risking my life. That's first stage recovery, and that's very important. I'm all for that. I'm all for people identifying as what they are at that moment. My invitation has always been to consider that different people need different things at different times. That recovery is evolutionary. If it isn't evolutionary, to me, it's not recovery. If you're stuck in the same language, same problems, same effort not to do something you used to do for 20 years, for me, that would be intolerable. I couldn't do that. I would not want to do that. I would not be inspired to do that, and I wouldn't want to be amongst a group of people who were doing that. Straight up. That would not be interesting to me. But if you're a person that can tell the truth, and you're in first stage recovery, and you have to raise your hand and say, listen, I am up against it here. I haven't been able to put 30 fucking days together without substances in my life, and I'm scared. I want to talk to that person. I want to surround them with love, and I want to be like, yes, get to a meeting every day. I'll sponsor you. Let's work through the steps. Let's do the work so that you can liberate yourself. And when they get to that liberated place where they're about to go over from fear into love, I'm going to make sure they know. You can refer to yourself any way you want. Make sure it's accurate. I just came to a place in my recovery where for me to say I'm an addict was no longer truthful. And therefore, I felt out of integrity. I couldn't say those words anymore for me. People in the old way of thinking would say, you have forgotten where you came from. You're not in touch with addiction the way it was. And I'm like, I haven't forgotten where I came from, but you're right, I'm not in touch with addiction the way it was, because I have evolved. I am a different person now. I'm in a different place and I need different things. And I identify in a different way. And the way I would identify today is I'm a person on a path of discovery. That's the commitment. Can you make it without the 12 steps? As I said, I think if you really work them, they're in you forever. And that's not a bad thing. Can you make it without being on a path of discovery? I don't know. I wouldn't want to be on that path. See, discovery is, we're always stepping forward into the unknown. Now that scares the shit out of a lot of people. But that's where life is. That's where your aliveness is. The present moment. The present moment is always unknown. You don't know what's coming. No idea. So you step into the present moment, you step into the unknown, you step onto this path of discovery, and you are engaged in this never-ending evolutionary experience of being alive. What happens when difficult things happen in life? As they will for all of us. You face them. You express the pain, the sadness. You cry. You laugh. You scream. You connect. I'm 56, and it's dawned on me that the longer I stay here, the more people will leave physical form. And some of those people I know and have history with and love dearly. And that will be painful. That's part of the human condition. I'm finding people relapsing primarily around a broken heart. Can you live with a broken heart? Absolutely not. It will come out sideways. Do you need the 12 steps to heal a broken heart? No. They can be helpful. And many, many other things can be helpful too. And you'll have to deal with these challenges and difficulties as they present. But the core is, I'm connected to the truth within me and everywhere else. I walk a path each day, which continues taking me down this discovery that I'm interested in. I have found other people that are also interested in that discovery, so there's community to it. And the 12 steps are just there like a friend. Humming from the cells. Wow, wow, wow. You know, they're just humming. It's there. And it's not dogmatic like the 12 steps are the only way. It's just my personal experience. I experienced the 12 steps. They were very liberating and helpful for me. And I worked them so hard and kept the words in my head so long that they became a part of me now. And they're like a program, software. And I've upgraded from there. There was 12 steps, volume 1, 1.0. There's 12 steps 2.0. There's recovery 2.0. And we just keep upgrading. And so that's how I feel about the idea or the sense of you always have to identify a certain way, or you always have to be doing the same thing, or you always are going to have to do this, or you'll fall prey to addiction. Like, that is very, very addictive thinking in the first place. And if you think like that, you're destined to be experiencing more addiction. So, evolution, move the energy, calm the mind, connect with people, be honest with yourself. When you feel things, feel things. When you're sad, express it. When you're angry, express it appropriately. Move forward. Keep your body healthy. Love. Serve. Have a smoothie. Have a piece of really like greasy, have an amazing greasy piece of pizza, for God's sakes. If you're someone that can handle that. I'm someone that can handle that. That's joyful for me. Do something that's joyful for yourself. And if you find that you don't know what that is anymore, that's okay too. You're on the path of discovery, and it's time for you to find out. So, these are the things. There's no one way. I really try to avoid people who think that way. And at the beginning, when I was just starting to change and just starting to get onto a path of recovery, I did have to let go a little bit of what I thought was the right thing and open myself up a little bit to someone else's idea, because I didn't have it then. That was at the beginning of my journey. Now I'm still at the beginning of my next step. I don't know what my next step is. I haven't been there yet. How could I know? So I'm still asking teachers. to guide me, support me. And I've developed a capacity for intuition. So I can go inside and contemplate things and answers will come. That's also a development over time. All these things are possible for all of us. It's just an invitation. Come and try. And if you are constantly relapsing, constantly struggling, then ask yourself, what am I doing? How can I shift it to bring about better outcomes here? And it's going to definitely have to do with the people that you get around, the doctrine that they're surrounding, and your routines and your life. That's what's on my mind about this inquiry right now. That's what comes through. What are you thinking, Connor?
Well, thanks, Tommy. As you talk, there sure are some wonderful things that can come from the 12 steps. And yet that's just the beginning. Whether we do the 12 steps or we don't do the 12 steps, we got to do something to get out of that acute addiction. It doesn't have to be the 12 steps. It could be any number of things. You said they're not unique. And I think as you've also said, the 12 steps do have, well, a bit of a marketing problem. It's hard to get people it can be hard to get people to embrace them. And I sure did like how you presented the 12 efforts. Again, that was elsewhere. But so anyway, we got to do something, 12 steps or otherwise, to get out of that acute substance use, acting out in some way. And then it's about taking care of our body, moving the energy in our body. It's about calming the mind through meditation. It's about yoga. It's about connection. It's about being in community. It's about cultivating love. It's looking at our romantic relationships, our friendships, our relationship with food, the people that we work with. It's about finding some joy, right? It's about having some fun, connecting with our feelings, and that's how we keep this going, right? So it sounds like it doesn't. Here's kind of what I'm hearing. 12 steps are one way. They work for you. They did give me the foundation. They're not the only way. You got to do something to get started, but then that's just it. And from there, you got to do, well, these other things that you suggest to evolve. We want our lives to evolve and to live these big, vibrant, colorful, beautiful lives. And I will just add that I've seen a whole lot of people embracing, those part 2, everything that you said after the 12 steps, and without going through the 12 steps, they did something, a combination of all those other things that we said. And that was for them enough to shake themselves out of this pattern of substance use. And then they continue to do that and then continue to live wonderful lives. So that's what I'm hearing. And, I love how you framed that up.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Well, amen to everything you said. And yes, that's the ticket. I personally, again, just to underline, I love the 12 steps and it was great for me. And I love the 2.0 aspects. And 2.0 for me is just an upgraded perspective on the 12 steps with all the other things included. So I'm all for it. And, everybody ultimately has to find their way. And there isn't just one way to do that. There does, though, happen to be a couple, breadcrumbs along the way that lead us down a trail that is a pretty good trail to be going down. So we keep our eyes open and we keep going and we support each other all the way. And especially if we're willing to learn from our mistakes, how can we fail?